Welcome to this comprehensive tutorial on building a 3D open-world game using Java. Today, we will explore the principles of game design, how to utilize the Java 3D library, and how to implement essential game mechanics to bring our world to life. Imagine exploring vast lands, climbing mountains, and interacting with various objects and characters. This tutorial will give you the knowledge to create such immersive experiences. So, let's get started by setting up our development environment. First, ensure you have the following installed: Java Development Kit, JDK, an IDE such as IntelliJ IDEA or Eclipse, and the Java 3D library. You can download the library from the official Java 3D website. Now, let's create a new Java project in your IDE. We will structure our project by creating separate packages for rendering, objects, and game logic. With our main class set up, let's start working on the rendering system. We will create a class named GameRenderer that extends Canvas. This will handle all our 3D rendering tasks. Next, we need to set up the 3D environment. Inside the init method of GameRenderer, we will create a simple 3D scene. Let's add a simple sphere to represent a player. Let's run the application to see our sphere floating in a blank 3D space. If you encounter any issues or errors, double-check that your Java 3D library is correctly linked to your project. Now that we have our basic scene ready, let's move towards implementing controls for our player. We'll enable keyboard inputs to navigate the sphere around the scene. In the keyPressed method, we can add simple logic to update the sphere's position based on arrow key inputs. We will create a move method that updates the sphere's transform group. Let's now complete the keyPressed method to move the player sphere in response to user inputs. The up arrow will move forward, the down arrow will move backward, and left/right arrows will adjust the lateral position. Next, we will focus on world building by adding terrains. We can utilize Java 3D to create terrain using height maps. This process involves creating a mesh based on a grayscale image that represents different heights. For the sake of brevity, let's define our terrain generation function and transform our height map into a terrain object that we can place into our game world. You can use tools like GIMP or Photoshop to create a height map image. Ensure the image is saved as a grayscale PNG. The heights in the image will translate into elevations in the game. Let's integrate the terrain into our main rendering pipeline. We will modify the init method to add the terrain object to our scene. At this point, you should have a basic 3D open-world structure, allowing you to navigate around with your sphere and interact with the terrain generated from a height map. Now you may notice that our navigation is somewhat limited. To enhance this, let's add a camera system that adapts to the player's movements. We will call this Update Camera method within our game loop to keep the camera position behind the player consistently. This will enhance the gameplay experience immensely. Now it's time to enrich the world further by adding dynamic elements. We can create simple NPCs, non-player characters, that can roam around our terrain. We'll define an NPC class that will encapsulate its behavior and appearance. Each NPC will have a behavior pattern we could define using randomness. Here we will use simple random movement logic for demonstration. Let's instantiate a few NPCs in our game seen within the main render method, ensuring they are positioned somewhere on the terrain. After adding NPCs, it's essential to provide some interaction methods. We can implement simple dialogues that initiate when the player approaches an NPC, for instance. For this feature to work, we need to check player proximity with each NPC. You can check the distances and call Interact with NPC when the player presses the spacebar near an NPC. Cool. Now we have introduced basic character interaction. To put everything we've learned into practice, let's implement saving player state. This way, we can save the player's position and NPC interactions. Let's create a simple save mechanism that uses Java serialization for storing player data. When prompted, the game state will be saved into a file. To complement this, let's implement a load feature, allowing the player to resume their adventure from a saved state. To wrap up, we have created the fundamental framework of a 3D open-world game using Java, with basic mechanics including player movement, NPC interactions, and game state management. You can expand this framework by adding textures to your terrain, enhance NPC behaviors, or implement a quest system. The possibilities are endless, and that's the beauty of game development. Thank you for joining this tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more content on game development and Java programming. Good luck on your game development journey.